but I don't see the growth in my neighborhoods. I see the growth all around the city.
I really think that affordable housing is number one, and for change, number one in the most crucial issues facing St. Petersburg.
I talk to citizens and they fall in one of two buckets. The first bucket is my rent's increasing. I don't know how I'm going to pay it. There's no chance in heck that I'm going to be able to buy a house here. And then the second bucket is folks who got in kind of early and they're, looking backwards and they're like, man, if I, looked at buying a house maybe, today, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. I'm glad I got in 3, 5, 8 years ago.
One homeless person in this city is too many. One family facing an eviction or the threat of having that roof taken from over their heads is too many.
You should house all the homeless people in free, livable, and safe housing.
But I believe we need to do more to move towards a model of creating permanently affordable housing in this city, particularly for our working families and vulnerable people.
We're kind of in the same spot that we were nearly exactly 9 months from before, in September of 2020, when we had a couple dozen people come into City Council pleading with you all to increase funding for affordable housing in the city's new CAL program. It's funny that despite all of those pleas, there were no actual changes made.
And that's a very abstract term, affordable housing, because no one can define what affordable housing actually is and who can afford it, and how do we determine what the workforce is that can afford that housing, and what makes a living wage. What does that mean? Those are some things that I wish that we would clarify for everyone, so we'd be on a level playing field regarding what something costs and what it'll take not to just get it, but to maintain it and to keep it.
Everyone wants money to affordable housing, but I'm like, well, don't give $1 to affordable housing, because we can't define in this city what that is. What is affordable housing, right? Because the model that we have is not effective, and it's because it's being based on the market, and the market was not designed for the advancement of aliens or Negro, and this is per HCLU housing manuscript.
The market has never helped the most vulnerable. It never has, and it never will.
It's clear we need to look for permanent solutions on, taking housing out of the market. Other municipalities have looked into public land trusts and city-owned public housing.
We need things that take housing out of the market. And in a booming place like St. Petersburg, until you take housing out of the market, you are not going to make housing affordable for an ordinary working person. And the things that do take housing out of the market are things like community land trusts and public housing, where the public can control what the rents are or what the costs are.
I believe, like many others here today, that we must direct funds towards permanent solutions like community land trusts and public housing in order to ensure that we have housing options that create long-term stability for those that need it most.
I've had to move 3 times just to find stable housing. I've had many friends that have declining mental health, including my own. And it's been a struggle to find affordable housing, to get mental health resources in this city.
Far too often, money dedicated for housing for working and poor people is used to subsidize private profits that then increase yearly as rents are risen.
Ending homelessness, housing for all, it shouldn't be some plan of the distant future. It should be, there's homeless people today who could be housed today, because there is enough housing, and we need to prioritize the people and not these developers.
I can see the growth around us, and it's going to squeeze us. So how do we grow? What helps us grow? Why can't we actually see the growth as a person like me, a person like in my community?
Knowing that when America catches a cold, Black people catch pneumonia. And so we would definitely like to see that the distribution of this $40+ million is done through the lens of equity.
The disproportionalities between white communities and communities of color when it comes to education and health, housing, they're criminal.
My street is full of homeless. My community, I see it go down because there's nothing to pick it up at this time. So as far as housing, that is going to be a big thing for my community.
And it's unconscionable when we've got this happening in the shadow of luxury condos.
South St. Pete is experiencing an undeclared public health emergency. And the city's budget memorial document does not reflect this public health emergency. Health disparities, education disparities, housing disparities. I mean, there are too many disparities for me to mention in this small amount of time. Coupled with the COVID-19 pandemic, my community is being kicked while it's down. And this budget is so very important because this budget can help alleviate some of that oppression. It could help relieve some of that stress when we talk about health disparities, when we talk about housing, we talk about homelessness. Our community is dying. South to Central it hasn't been this bad my entire life.
Will there be a change? Will something happen different that has been taking place in our community before? This is a sunshine city. We should make it shine.
Form unions, begin organizing, start fighting for the things that you want, because clearly certain changes will not be made and or are made way too slowly for people to not die and suffer in the way that they have been.